my name's Julie. I'm an indie filmmaker. If you want to know more about me, you can check out my stuff below. But I'm about to do a review of the book Sorry Not Sorry by Naya Rivera. And I'm about to say a lot of nice things about Naya Rivera. So if you're a Glee fan, you're going to like this video and you're in for a treat. Okay, welcome to the Julie Show. I did a review of Glee like a long time ago, like the show, and someone left a comment on my Glee video saying, oh yeah, it was Edward. Edward said, thank you for this video. And so you're welcome, Edward. So with that, I wanted to talk about the book Sorry Not Sorry by Naya Rivera, and I just wanted to say a lot of nice things about Naya Rivera because okay, so the book is called Sorry Not Sorry by Naya Rivera, and it says dreams, mistakes, and growing up. So basically the book is really good and I totally recommend it because it's basically she gives a lot of life lessons, and so I walked away actually learning like a lot. And then I'm going to explain like why I think the character Santana Lopez was such a big deal on Glee, especially back then. Because I think Glee, at this point, Glee came out like 10 years ago, I would think. So like times have changed. So nowadays when I'm watching like any show, there's at least one or two LGBTQ characters. And I personally really appreciate that, you know? So I don't need like all the characters to be LGBTQ unless I'm watching like the L Word or something like that, like a soap opera. But times have changed for the better now where it's like, yeah, almost every show that I'm watching, there's at least one LGBTQ character in it, and I really appreciate that. Because once upon a time, there's a website called AfterEllen.com. I don't know if it still exists, but they would tell you like when there's going to be some sort of gay character on. By the way, I'm gay, but they would tell you, oh, this show, there's going to be a gay character. Like they would have to tell you, and then you'd have to specifically watch that show. But that is to say, like if you wanted any kind of like representation or that kind of thing, like you just couldn't find it as much. And it's just really cool that now like you can, it's more prevalent, and that's cool. But let's talk about Naya Rivera because that's what this video is about. Okay, and this is a review of Sorry Not Sorry. I have the kind of job, I know this is a blessing, but I can listen to stuff while I do my job, and that's a blessing. So I listened to the Audible book Sorry Not Sorry by Naya Rivera, and so I listened there it is. I listened to her like read the book, and it's a really interesting book. So I think she did a good job. I don't know if she had a ghostwriter, but she's a really good writer, and she says a lot of interesting things. And the way the book is structured is each chapter at the end she says basically she says, sorry that I did this and this, not sorry that I did this and this. So she talks about what she learned, the things she regrets, and the things she doesn't regret, right? And for those who don't know, that Naya Rivera, unfortunately, she passed away. She was in her early 30s, so just wanted to say that. But I'll talk about that at the end of this video because I want to be like super sensitive to that. But I also just want to say like really positive things about her because that character, Santana Lopez, was a big deal when she was on Glee, because back then there just wasn't as much representation. So it was a big deal, and Naya Rivera played that character, Santana Lopez. She played the character with so much grace and empathy and kindness, and she gave so much reverence to the character of Santana Lopez because, yeah, it's a big deal. She was playing a teenage lesbian woman of color, and it was very trailblazing. And it was around the time that there just wasn't as much representation. So the fact that Naya Rivera played this character with so much empathy and grace, that's a hats off to Naya Rivera. Because listen, Glee, the show Glee is a little cheesy. Glee is not Game of Thrones. Glee is a show about singing, choir, show choir. It's a show about show choirs, so it's cheesy. But there's moments in Glee that are really, really good. And I think by casting Naya Rivera in Glee, the quality of Glee went up by 5 million. Because because like when Naya Rivera played Santana Lopez, like she did not phone it in. She's like, no, I'm taking this seriously. I'm gonna play this character with empathy and grace. So hats off to Naya Rivera. It's a big deal. Santana Lopez was a really big deal. But I remember, you know, when Glee first came out, like everybody was going bananas because it was diverse, like it had a diverse cast and that kind of thing. So everyone was going bananas. And then you had Kurt, like his storyline was really good. He was like the gay guy and teenage gay guy. And, you know, yeah, that was cool. And yeah, I don't know. Glee was like huge when it first came out. It's definitely cheesy, but then there's a certain charm to it too. And when it was good, it was really good. It had some really good moments. So let me say some more positive things about Naya Rivera. The book is like, if you're like a Glee fan, I'm a Glee fan, I'm gonna say some positive things about Naya Rivera again. Okay, so listening to her book, she seemed like a highly intelligent person. Like if you listen to the book, you get to hear what the industry's like, because she talks about, she was a child actor. She wasn't like Macaulay Culkin, like famous, but she worked, you know. So she talks about the process of auditioning, that kind of thing. She talks about auditioning for High School Musical for Disney. She talks about how she kept going in for auditions and they kept telling her, you know, oh, you're so good. And she said, if I'm so good, why won't you cast me? She said that out loud to the casting directors of Disney, and they all went like this. So she didn't get cast in High School Musical, but to be honest, like, she was such a better fit on Glee, because people think Glee is cheesy, but Glee compared to High School Musical was for little kids. Glee had a lot more grit. If you go back and watch it, like, it has some very grown-up humor. I don't know if that is like, whatever. Okay. So she's definitely a better fit for Glee, way better fit for Glee. Okay. So, but yeah, it's really interesting to hear her talk about like being a child actor, how it works living in LA, how it works like going on auditions. Like she's super honest about that. What I was impressed with the book is like she's really smart. She's highly intelligent. And so listening to the book, you just get to hear like, she's very honest about how it all works. And so she was in a working class family. So she talks about how I think her mom was a model. And so, but they were, I kind of get it. So now that I've been to Los Angeles twice, once in December and once in January, and surprisingly, I had the time of my life. So, but I kind of get it. So if you're working class and you live in LA and the industry is like right there, I kind of get why not try to, you know, try to make it in the industry, because it's right there. So I kind of get like, why not? Like, it, you know. So anyway, but she got she worked as a kid, and then she got into her teenage years and she wasn't getting the auditions. And then finally she got Glee. And she said even when she auditioned for Glee, at this point she was like, who cares? Doesn't matter. She'd kind of already in her heart given up. But then she got casted, and she talks about, I thought this was interesting. She talks about like, I think she was living with her parents and she's like doing these little dance moves for Glee because she's still like, I thought that was interesting. Like that, the logistics of how it all works is interesting to me. So she talked about how she was still like auditioning and practicing the dance moves, but she was still living with her parents, and like she keeps it real. And I thought it was interesting. She does a good job of just explaining how it all works, and she keeps it real in the book. So you get a glimpse of what show business in LA is like if you're working class. So yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. Like she has an entire chapter about money and how money works. And it's really good. It's really interesting. Like I just thought it's a good book. It's a good book, and I actually learned a lot. So yeah, she seems like she's really smart. She spills the tea without spilling the tea. She's like really, really diplomatic. So she does talk about working on Glee, and she's honest about what that was like. Yeah, so, but she doesn't, to me, I think she's very diplomatic. She tells the truth, but she doesn't say, she's not vindictive. She just tells the truth, that kind of thing. So you get a little bit of tea of how she worked on Glee and how all that worked, that kind of thing. Right. And she has a chapter about her slutty years. And she's very honest about that. Like, she had some years where she was slutty and she was heterosexual and she slept with dudes, and good for her and that kind of thing. And she talked about how she was able to talk to her mom about, you know, dating and that kind of thing. And that's where I want to give her props, because like, where she was a really good actor, because she was straight, and that's awesome. But still, like, the grace and empathy and integrity that she brought to the character of Santana Lopez is such a big deal. So I think, like, I just hats off to her, or thank you for, she took the role seriously. She understood the importance of what she was doing by playing, you know, a woman of color, teenage lesbian. It was a big deal. It was a really big deal. And I appreciate how much she cared, Naya Rivera cared about the character of Santana Lopez. And Santana Lopez has some of the best moments on Glee, like, straight up. Also, what I want to say is, you know, perhaps woke white people are annoying or whatever, and that's what I am. But, okay. The thing is, like, I was back then, like, LGBTQ people, we didn't have a lot of representation. So, you know, I would read, like, there's a website called Auto Shadow, and, like, we were always keeping up with what's going on with Santana Lopez, right? And the other thing I want to say is Santana Lopez, her love interest, or Naya Rivera, was another character named Brittany. And they were so sweet together. Like, the best moments were when they would just, like, link pinky fingers, or they would just, like, put her head on Naya's shoulder, stuff like that. Like, really sweet, like, kind of innocent moments. And, like, they just had a lot of chemistry together. And I think that's it, because of the chemistry, it's like, it was believable that Brittany and Santana were, like, in love. And it was sweet, you know? So it was just refreshing to see something like that, you know? On Glee, yeah. So because the LGBTQ blogs, they were keeping up with Santana Lopez, like, she wasn't getting a lot of screen time. And for Kurt, the white gay guy, they rolled out the red carpet for Kurt. Like, he got so much screen time, which is great. But the thing about it was, Naya Rivera's acting, her acting ability had to surpass, I say this with love, but had to surpass the, like, okay writing. And so, like, it just seems like Naya had to fight a little bit more for her screen time. And all the queer women, or myself included, lesbian, we were paying attention, like, when is she gonna get more screen time, you know? So, so at first, like, the show seemed to really, like, focus on, like, 2 or 3 characters, which is weird because it's an ensemble cast. There's, like, 10 people, so, in 22 episodes, so there's enough time to give everyone some storylines, you know? But for some reason, like, I don't know, but eventually, like, Santana Lopez became, like, a main character and one of the most iconic characters on the show. And the reason why that happened is because Naya Rivera is so talented. She brought so much to the character. So she had to kind of work harder to get the screen time, but then she got it. And like I said, she's one of the most iconic characters on Glee. She's really good on the show. So the journey that she's showing is, like, really important. So I guess I'm saying Naya Rivera's acting was better than the writing, but she just wasn't getting a lot of writing. So that just shows how talented she was. Like, she was so good. She had to prove herself a little bit more for some reason. But they eventually started giving her, she became one of the main characters, and in fact, one of the most iconic characters on Glee. If you watch the show, like, she's hilarious. So she's so good, like, comedic timing. She's so, and she's good at singing and dancing and all this stuff because it's Glee. So the book, Sorry Not Sorry, I would say, like, the MVP of the book is her best friend, Madison. So she does talk about, so she's mixed race. So Naya Rivera, she talks about that. She talks about how her dad is half Puerto Rican, half German, and speaks Spanish and German. And then her mom was half Puerto Rican, half African American. So she talks about how she grew up in like a very diverse house, and how because of that she could like blend in with all different kinds of groups of people, which she could. So she does talk about how sometimes she would be friends with white people and they would feel comfortable, they would get really comfortable with her where they would say the N-word in IGGER, which is really, really bad, and she would call them out on it, like, hey, that's not cool. And they would be like, why are you bumming us out? Like, anyway, that sucks. That sucks that Naya had to go through that. Like, that totally sucks. But she talks about how she had to bounce from different friend groups, and she went to different high schools. She dated the guy who was in Smart Guy, or it's basically, a sister. Okay, they're brothers. She dated that guy. But she said, like, this is where she spills the tea without spilling the tea. She's very honest about money. She's like, yeah, he broke up with me for being too poor. And I was like, oh, Naya. So I wish him all the best, but like, she talks about the class differences. Like, anyway, so whatever. Okay, so but she spills the tea without spilling the tea. So but yeah, her best friend Madison, because she went through all these different kinds of high schools and all these different experiences. She talks about her best friend Madison. I'm quoting Naya Rivera. She says, like, basically Madison was like this nice, I guess, okay, Madison was like this really nice lady, basically this really nice, rich white lady who just wasn't racist. She's just like, so she talks to, like, Madison was just cool. So Naya talks about how she worked at Hooters, and like Naya worked at Hooters. Her dad didn't like her working at Hooters. And then her best friend Madison would come and eat way too many fried pickles. But basically, like, she always had Madison. Madison was always like a really good friend to her. And when she went on to be on Glee, she says that when she found out, she said Mark Salling was her first like official boyfriend. The dating, it's just so very interesting. Like, listening to the book, like, it really humanizes, I mean, I always thought of Naya Rivera as a human, but like, it really humanizes Naya Rivera because she really keeps it real about what her journey was like. So, but yeah, she says Mark Salling was her first boyfriend, and she says when she found out he was cheating, she called her best friend Madison. She's like, hey, he's cheating on me. Will you come help me trash his car? And Madison was like, yeah, absolutely. I'll be right there. And so that's a good best friend. So they trashed his car. And then this is where Naya Rivera is just really funny, because she says in the book, she says, sorry. Okay. Apparently the tabloids were like, oh, Naya trashed his Lexus. And then Naya in her book, she says, excuse me, it was not a Lexus. She's like, it was like a Honda, I don't know. She's like, it wasn't some fancy car. She said it was like this. Anyway, I don't know. I thought that was funny. Naya Rivera is really comical. She was really funny. The other thing she said about Mark Salling, I just find this fascinating. Like, apparently the first 3 years he was on Glee, he lived in this really shabby, scary apartment, like in a tough neighborhood. And she said, like, the first 3 years he was on Glee, he stayed at the shabby apartment. And I find that interesting, because I'm always curious. Like, I almost want to, like, I don't know, whatever. So I just find that interesting, because aren't you making good money on Glee? Why not move to a better place? I don't know. I just find that interesting. So that part was kind of interesting. Like, the logistics of how it works if you want to, like, be an entertainer in LA. All her stories about Madison, like, it made me happy. Like, she had a really good friend, and that was Madison. So that's cool. Like, that's really, and that makes me happy for Naya. Okay. The other thing she talks about is, she talks about money. She talks about being a child actor. She talks about how her family was working class, so she had to, like, give them money. She said she said like she says she sort of resented it, but then she was like, what you gonna do? So because of some law, she like they'd have to go to like a court and say, hey, we need some money. There's some sort of law where, and this is a good law, where parents can't completely take all of the child actor's money. That's a good law. So yeah, but they'd have to go to court and ask for some money because they needed it. So basically, like, I don't know, that part's interesting, but like I kind of get it. Like if you're working class and Hollywood's like right there, like, but it's also like, it's just like, it's kind of a tricky thing, you know? Oh, and she talks about how, so basically the money she made as a child actor, she gets it at 18. The chapter on money I thought was fascinating. Okay. So she was like, I'm going to get so much money. I'm going to get so much money. So at 18, she got $40,000. Now here's what I want to say. Hey, I'm working class, blah, blah, blah. No. I'm middle class, blah, 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 whatever. I hate to say this, but in the context of California, because I've worked for companies that have really big numbers, I was like, $40,000 is not like that much money. And don't get me wrong. If I got 40 grand, or if any of us got 40 grand, we'd be like, holy shit, 40 grand, that's fucking awesome, right? But still, like, anyway, so long story short, she got the 40 grand at 18. It's the money she made when she was an actor, a kid actor. And she says she bought a boob job, and then I think she bought a car, and she basically slowly but surely she like spent it all. And I was like, I'm not judging Naya Rivera, because I was like, well, 40,000, like, depending on what kind of cars you like, you know, you can spend 40,000 like this, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so easy to spend money. So I was not judging Naya Rivera at all. It's like 40,000, it's not. Yeah, it's not that much money. So, but basically she spent it all. So, and I'm not judging her at all. So, but she talks about that, and she actually gives a little bit of money management advice, in the money chapter. And like I said, Naya Rivera comes across in the books, like she comes across really, really intelligent. Yeah, and that's cool. That's really cool, you know? Okay. Yeah. The last thing I want to say is that, yes, unfortunately, tragically, she passed away. She was early, I think she was early 30s, but basically she went out with her son. At the time she had a son, and but she went out in a boat with her son in a lake. She decided to go swimming. She got caught in like a current or something. I didn't know this could happen in a lake. I don't know anything about currents, but she unfortunately got caught in a current, and she wasn't wearing a life jacket. So she was able to, her son, who was less than 5 years old, she was able to get her son back on the boat. But she unfortunately passed away and drowned, and that's super sad. That sucks. And empathy for her family. I watched the show, like, they did a series about, like, I don't know, they recently did a series about the behind the scenes of Glee, and they interviewed Naya Rivera's dad, and I felt a lot of empathy towards him, because overall it sounds like she had a family who really loved and cared about her, right? And a best friend, Madison, who really loved and cared about her. So, so that's tragic, and that's sad. I would say, according to my belief system, in my opinion, according to my belief system, Naya Rivera is in heaven. She's like hanging out with like Judy Garland and Freddie Mercury, and she's okay. She's okay in heaven. And I think, like, on one hand, it's sad that she passed away. I didn't know her personally, but I feel empathy for her son, her family, people who knew her. But I want to say, and I guess I'm going to say something positive, perhaps that's obnoxious, but I want to say, like, I'm glad that she got to have her moments of glory in the sun, so to speak. She had glorious moments in her life. Like, she got to play the character, Santana Lopez in Glee. Santana Lopez is one of the most iconic characters to come out of Glee, like, totally. So I'm glad that Naya Rivera got a chance to, she had her moment in the sun to, I'm glad she had lots of success in Glee, and you know, she saved her son's life, so, and she's okay. So but I wanted to do a review of Sorry Not Sorry because I don't want in the public eye, I mean, you know, but if her legacy is just that, yeah, she did pass away tragically, but also though, she brought a lot of light and awesomeness and amazingness to the world through her character Santana Lopez. So she was great. She was great on the show. She was amazing on the show. So I'm glad she got to experience that. She got to experience that success. And it seems like overall, like with her, her experience with Glee overall was positive. She does the tea that she spills, which isn't that interesting, but basically, like, it does sound like for some reason, well, it does seem like the white actors got treated better than the people of color actors, so that totally sucks. So she does talk about how, you know, one of the white leads, like, she got treated really, really well, but then they would come after Naya a lot. And that's like a smidgen racist, like that sucks. So it sucks that Naya had to deal with that, you know, because like I said, Santana Lopez is so iconic. So, but like I said, I'm glad like that we got to experience Santana or Naya Rivera's light, that she got to shine her light into the world through the show Glee. And I hope her legacy is like that she was super talented, really smart, and just really good at what she did. I hope that's her legacy. Yeah, so yeah, okay, so the book Sorry Not Sorry by Naya Rivera, it's a really interesting, awesome, great book. She keeps it real, she keeps it honest, she's very diplomatic, she's not throwing shade at nobody, which I think is good. So she's just honest about her experience of what it's like, what it was like to be a really successful actress. So I recommend Sorry Not Sorry by Naya Rivera. It's a good book. I listened to it on Audible. And if you're a Glee fan, definitely listen to the book. You'll really enjoy it, or you'll learn a lot from it. So rest in peace, Naya, and to all the Glee fans. You know, we like cheesy shows. Glee is cheesy, but it's very heartfelt. It had some really good moments. So, all right. So, you know, all right. Yeah, it's a great book. Thanks for watching. I'm Julie. Talk to y'all later. Bye.